The economy may still be growing, but despite a huge population increase, it's slowed to a crawl. So individually, Australians continue to go backwards.
Yeah, it's affecting because everything's gone up. Prices like the grocery you do for $100 now cost easily around $130, $140.
Even my savings is coming down, so I'm having to work some extra hours.
It's becoming very tough for everyone, for the Australian, for the migrated people, or especially for the students.
The economy grew by just 0.2% in the December quarter and 1.5% over the year. Businesses imported less and made up for it by running down their stocks. Government spending on household benefits, employees and the Voice referendum also kept GDP out of negative territory, and it pushed up wages for public servants. But household spending barely rose as people cut back on luxuries like dining out to cover the rising cost of essentials.
Slow growth is still significant growth given the challenging global conditions combined with the impact of higher interest rates here in our own economy. Now we need to remember that towards the end of the year, Japan and the UK both went into recession. Around a quarter of G20 economies have recorded a technical recession or narrowly avoided one.
We'll see another slow quarter of consumption growth at the first quarter this year, but with households anticipating the tax cuts and rate cuts, we should see consumption pick up later in the year.
For now, this jewellery business is thinking about cutting staff or hours as households reduce their spending.
It's getting a bit harder these days. People don't want to spend that much, especially on expensive items like gold.
On the same shopping strip in Melbourne, this hairdresser is seeing fewer customers. He says the last time things were this quiet was during the early 1990s recession.
And if we go through something similar to that, it's not good. That's not good. Because no one's experienced that sort of a recession yet, and that was nasty.
These numbers show an economy that's buckling under the weight of 13 interest rate rises. While we're not in a technical recession, we would be if it wasn't for population growth. On a per-person basis, the economy has shrunk for 3 consecutive quarters.
So what does this mean for interest rates?
So we think that the RBA is going to be cutting rates in November, although the monthly CPI and the labour market have been a little bit softer, so it does suggest that there's risks that the RBA will be cutting rates maybe a little bit earlier than November.
For the past 2 years, the government, the RBA and Treasury have had their focus on managing high inflation. Now the Treasurer will have to use the upcoming federal budget to steer Australia away from the threat of a recession.
We're in kind of trickier terrain when it comes to balancing those pressures in our economy. So we've got a growth challenge as well as an inflation challenge. And we need to be just as diligent and just as successful when it comes to dealing with the growth challenge as we have been so far, touch wood, when it comes to the inflation challenge.
Challenges that are weighing heavily on all Australians.